Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Mindminx Show. I am your favorite Mindminx, and we are here with Mix Vibes Radio as we always are. And we are on location right outside Red Bull Stadium, and I want to say that because it is a beautiful day out and it is a gorgeous stadium, so I wanted to make sure that we said that today. I do have to do some homework because if I don't do it now, I'll get in trouble, that's for one, and then I'll forget completely. So I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Absalom, located at 223 DeGraw Avenue in Teaneck, New Jersey, and to Castro Beats for this amazing beat that he created specifically for me. We can't hear it here, but in YouTube land they can hear it. So, all right, so I am here with AJX Beast. Did I say that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, cool. So we both said each other's names right, and I'm super proud of that. So thank you very much for saying my name correctly. And AJ is a part of the new Mecca, which I am a huge fan of. So shout out to Mecca, yes. Yep. So let's talk about you. First of all, how old are you?
Okay, so I am 23 years old. 23,
just a kid.
Going on 35.
35,
yeah.
It's an old soul.
Yeah.
Old soul. Let's talk about your upbringing, because I know when you gave me your bio, one of the first couple of things that you brought up, which obviously are important to you, is the fact that you were Christian and that you had...
I was brought up in a Christian household, yeah.
And that was important. So and we talked about this, because when somebody writes something in their bio, it's important to them. So I want to talk about how was that important for your upbringing?
Okay, so I would say it was important in the sense of finding out who I was.
Okay.
So growing up, mom, Christian, grandmother's Christian, right? Everyone in the household is Christian. And I kind of just followed along with that. But as I grew up, right, I started to research myself, do my own studying, and I ended up rejecting it completely.
Really?
Yeah, completely. After, you know, understanding who I was and going through all of that, growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that translate now into what your spirituality and your belief system is as adult AJ?
All right, so I would say I do still believe in God, just not the way that everybody else believes in God, right? I believe that we are all the generators, operators, and destroyers of our own reality.
Okay.
So, right, like with this podcast here, right? You guys created this. No, there was no outside source. There was no entity that helped you do this. It was you, right? You came up with the idea, you came up with the name, and you had people in the background helping you out with that. And that's how I started moving, growing up. And a lot of people, they would get mad at me for saying that. But, when you truly think about it, like, we create and we control what happens in our life.
Right.
So.
Well, that goes back to the belief that we are in control of our own happiness.
Exactly.
I agree with you. That I don't believe in organized religion at all. And I grew up very Catholic, so I'm there with you. So now, did you go to church when you were? Do you think that influenced your?
From time to time, yeah. And I remember them like going around, jumping around,
Okay.
And I remember I would have like tantrums actually in church sometimes.
Really?
And I remember this one time it got real bad to the point where they actually brought me out of like the service area, and they brought me to like the hallway, and I was going off. I'm like, I'm young though. I'm like, I don't even know, probably like 5 or 6, and I was just going off. I don't want to be here. So I would say, I guess at a young age, I kind of knew that.
Right off the bat.
Yeah,
Wow.
you know, kids usually know,
Yeah.
like if something is off or if energy is off. So I guess that's what it was. Yeah.
How did that make your parents feel, especially if they were that into it?
So my pops, he wasn't really full on Christian. It was really my mother's side, and my mom, like we clash from time to time now about, you know, the conversations, the Bible, stuff like that, and it is what it is now, right? When I was younger, it was a little different because I wasn't really educated to the point where I can, mom, you know, actually question stuff. Now I'll question something or try to get her to think about certain things, and it's always clashing, but it's a love clash. It's not like a, oh, I hate you, mom, and you know. So
I think it's funny because I was going to say usually it's the dads that aren't as religious as the mom, so it's funny that you said that. But you also brought up that you felt you grew up troubled, but not in the sense like in the streets, which it's interesting that you pointed that out because that is so stereotypically what that means. You grew up troubled. Let's talk about that. I think that's important.
So as far as like, you know, me growing up, I wasn't like, I had a lot of friends that were in the streets, of course, and a lot of friends that did pass away or locked up. And luckily for me, right, I had my mom in the household, I had my dad. So it wasn't like I was troubled in the sense of being on the streets, selling drugs, you know, running the blocks, saying, oh, I own this block, I run this block, oh, get off the block. It wasn't like that, but I was troubled in the sense of like internal conflict, and I would do certain things mentally, right? I would lash out. I was very emotional as a kid, and I didn't know how to really, you know, express it exactly.
Okay.
So what I would do, I would draw. I used to draw a lot growing up, and I was into like art, anime, of course, gaming, and those were outlets that I used to kind of express myself. And then, of course, you probably read here, as time went on, I started to incorporate that into like videos that I would record, and then that's what you have now today.
Well, so then you feel that definitely was the segue that created
Exactly.
AJX Beast. Interesting.
Like the name AJX Beast actually came from when I used to game. Like I used to be on the PlayStation.
So that was your gamer tag?
That was my gamer tag.
So what does it mean? And I actually wrote that.
So AJX Beast was literally, so originally we had a clan right on Call of Duty.
Okay.
And it was called NJXB.
Okay.
So around the time, this was like, I think probably like 2015, 2016, we were on the game and it was the clan tag. I seen the clan tag and I just thought of like the name. I was like, oh, instead of NJXB, why not just name it AJXB? And then I thought about it more and I was like AJX Beast. And then that's been my name ever since.
Okay.
So.
Well, so it's interesting. Mindminx, everybody always asks me where I got the name from. It's always been my handle. I do there's a meaning behind it, but that's always just been my handle for everything. So it's interesting. Kind of like the little, you know, coincidences.
Got to make sure not to show the Poland Spring.
No. Unless Poland Spring wants to sponsor the Mindminx show. So you did a little bit of acting also. Yeah. So that's how did that happen on
Oh man, so okay. So way before this started, right? I uploaded something to YouTube. It's called it was like a corny, cringy superhero skit that I did like on YouTube. And it was me basically working and trying to like play around with like VFX. So it was a skit that I did, right? From that skit, one of my friends from school, right, he was already into like VFX, editing and you know, doing the show, like the little web series on YouTube. So he ended up seeing that video and he was like, yo, why don't you play this character inside this web series that we have, right? So I ended up playing a character named Scott in a web series called Opposite. It was like a VFX, like superhero type web series. And we shot it on an iPhone 4 actually too. It's crazy. 4. It's crazy, yeah. And it had about, I think, 10 episodes. And yeah, so my character, I played a teleporter. And yeah, it just, from there, that's what ended up happening. That was like my first real acting gig. It was
And how old were you then?
When we started that, I think I was 17 turning like 18.
Wow.
Yeah, and we did that for like a good year. And then now coming up, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but we're actually about to reboot that show with higher quality.
Exclusive.
Yeah, with higher quality. You know, of course, a bigger cast. And yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Exciting.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Tom Phantom Films, man, if y'all watching.
Phantom Films.
Tom Phantom Films,
Very
yeah.
cool.
Shout out to Efren, shout out to Nev, shout out to the gang, you feel me, the creatives. That's a part of this project, yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So how did it turn into you wanting to be a videographer though? Because usually when people get that acting bug, they usually stick with that acting bug. But for you, it became, you wanted to be on the other side of the camera.
Yeah. So for me, I felt like I was always both. Like I actually do YouTube videos myself. And I feel like I was always, I guess you could say, a performer or entertainer, right? I used to be the kid that was in school, cracking jokes, and then, you know, making videos, me, you know, doing some nonsense on like the playground or something. But I've always been that guy behind the camera and in front of the camera. So I guess around that time, it was just something new that I was venturing into. Okay. So that's what ended up happening. Yeah.
And how did you come across the new Mecca?
Oh wow. So this happened, I would say early, this was like late 2021, early 2022. Okay. And I remember, so Nev, right, my brother Supreme Nev, he used to, you know, his uncle was inside the group already. Okay. So what ended up happening was, right, he wanted to be, you know, he started working on his producing, and his uncle was like, yo, he has potential. Like, he started talking to everybody like, oh, we should bring him in. So once he joined in, right, Neff already, like, he was already in at that point, right? And then he ended up saying my name, like, yo, he's good with the camera, but he's also good with like creating content and, you know, doing things around the internet space, right? So I ended up getting in through the content side of things. And it wasn't really like a videographer at the time. It was really, you know, I could help with the content, right? I could help film content. I could help put together the ideas for the content. So we sat inside the, you know, the old studio. We sat inside there, and then it was just like, yeah, you're in. And then that's how it happened. So I didn't sign any contracts. We just shook hands, and then
nice.
Yeah.
History ever since.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a huge fan of New Mecca. I'm not gonna lie, that so far, yep, I love them. So yeah. I've gotten to meet Izzy, and obviously Demi, and Sad Hippie, and Ganja, and Lex.
Yeah.
So I love you guys. They know it.
TNM, baby.
Yep. All right, so talk about what projects you've done, whether it be with TNM or on your own.
So a project I could talk about a current project. Something that I'm working on now is a project. It's nothing super crazy, but it's a documentary that I'm doing for the Garment District in NYC. Okay. So I took like a week. It was like not a weekend, but it was like a day. We went out and we filmed a bunch of content for the different designers and artists of like the Garment District and then like New York. And we're basically trying to like bring more light to that district because they shut a lot of that down, right? And like now you have designers that aren't getting as much from the city anymore, right? They even took down like the Saint Laurent and like the different designers, like they took the stars down. They used to have like the squares and the stars on the sidewalks. Mm-hmm. They got rid of everything, and we're basically just trying to spread light to like the designers and the upcoming designers that are, you know, doing it in New York City. Okay. And then of course over here as well. Like we got designers everywhere, but yeah.
Now you also put on here that you consider yourself an activist and a revolutionary. Talk about how you feel you've contributed in that sense.
So I would say, so I don't know if you've seen, so you might know my like my funny comedic, right, AJX Beast, right, gamer, whatever, nerd, whatever you want to call it, right? But I have like another account that I usually post a lot of, I guess you could say, truth, right? A lot of truth. And I would say I've contributed in the sense of, you know, I've talked to younger kids, right? I've done public speaking, and I've been through a series of different conversations with people that have been there as well, and it's a lot. It's really a lot to get into. But on the activist side, I would say, as far as like truth, I've gotten people to really question, a lot more, right? To get out there and actually start to question everything. Don't just accept it just because you see it on the news, or don't accept it because you see it on the media, right? Question everything. Don't believe it until you actually, experienced it or been through it yourself, right?
Okay.
And that's one of the things on an activist standpoint. But I usually say I'm a revolutionary because, I'm young. I'm doing what a lot of people, would like to do, right? I'm a part of a group that a lot of people would like to be a part of. So, like, just everything I do is revolutionary. So that's how I move. That's how I talk. That's how I operate. So
Definitely an old soul. But I've noticed that about a lot of you guys too. I feel like to me it's the same way. I've said that, like, as far as young as you guys are.
That's the Bronx in there.
That's the Bronx in there. But you were born here in Jersey, though. You're a Jersey City kid?
Yeah. I was raised in Newark for a tiny bit.
A tiny bit?
Yeah.
Oh, God bless. Thank God they got you out.
Yeah.
My parents got me out too, so.
Yeah.
So you also said you're a poet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How does the poetry intertwine with everything?
So I've always, oh man. So as far as like the poetry, I've always done like rapping on the side too.
Oh, okay.
But I was never that person to be like, oh, I'm a rapper, right? I'm a perform here, do that, go there, right? I was that kid that was at the lunch table doing freestyles with like a pencil tapping beat. So, but I ended up, just writing poetry. Like usually, like when I have something on my mind, I'll just write it down, and it eventually turns into something beautiful. And I just, I'll just keep it to the side for when I'm like feeling low, or even if I'm talking to somebody, I do poetry too, or it's just how I don't know. It's just how I am.
It's part of the artistic side.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Do you still draw?
Yeah, from time to time.
From time to time. So I had an interview with an artist not that long ago, and he obviously, monetizes from his art.
Yeah.
So now that you're monetizing off of your videography, do you find time now to allow yourself to draw? Because that's what one of the questions was, like, where drawing was therapeutic for him. Now, because it was monetary, he didn't have time to just let it be therapeutic anymore. Do you allow yourself that time?
Yeah, actually, if I'm sitting inside, like, say if I'm sitting inside the house and I don't have any projects to work on, I'll literally just sit there and just doodle, or I'll pull out the sketchbook and just color something. I don't know. I'll find ways to incorporate the art side, that child in me. So
good.
I always try to find a way. Yeah.
Good. What's your favorite type of art to do? Like you were saying, anime and versus.
Honestly, I don't really have like a specific style. It's literally just whatever I'm feeling, that's what I'll draw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
so
the same thing with writing.
If your sketchbook just came out, what would you find yourself doodling right now?
So right now, if the book came out, I'll probably just put together something like a face or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love people though, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll probably just put together like a face. Probably add like an afro in there or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So what else do you want to tell us about Aubrey Anderson Jr.?
Let's see. I honestly don't know where to start.
No. Well, just start at the beginning.
Okay. Let's see.
What's something that people don't know that should know?
They'll have to meet me to find out.
Oh, no, that's good.
Let's see. All right, so if you didn't know already, I'm a creative. I'm super artistic, poetic in everything I do, from how I walk, talk, carry myself. I love people. I'm trying to think of like things off the top of my head. It's hard to come up, off the top of your head.
I know. It's super hard to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
It's super hard. But you should give yourself that time and that space to really own that, because this bio looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So you were able to do that.
Yeah.
So you said you gave yourself the title videographer. Why do you feel that you gave that to yourself? And I understand, because I always say to myself, I gave myself the title of podcaster, and it took somebody else to say to me, no, you are a part of this industry.
Yeah.
When do you think you'll allow yourself to take that away, say, instead of saying I gave myself the title, and just say that you are a videographer?
Well, I wrote that down in there because for a while, right, I didn't really see myself as a videographer. I just seen myself as somebody with a camera that was super artistic, like with the edits and, you know, the way I use the camera. But yeah, I guess you could say that came from me not really being, I guess you could say, confident in that space, right, for a long time. But now, of course, as time has, you know, progressed, I've started to just accept it, right? I'm a videographer. This is what I do. This is who I am. So that's why now I consider myself as a videographer. But
Okay.
I know here I wrote it down, but for a while that's how I felt. I didn't feel like I was in a space to where I could be confident in saying I'm a videographer, right? Because I didn't have like the work to show for it. I didn't have like super big clients, and so now that I've worked with a bunch of people, right? I've worked with the team, and I filmed for a bunch of different people. I can proudly say that I'm a videographer.
Good for you. All right, so I'm literally gonna, you didn't give yourself the title, you are a videographer.
Oh yeah,
All right,
cut
take
that,
that out. All right, well, I think that's a pretty cool story. What's your favorite piece that you got to record for somebody?
My favorite piece.
Yeah.
I would say the documentary that I'm working on now.
Now?
It was super fun. So, like I said, we were out that whole day. I met with a bunch of designers. I met with I met up with this guy named Mello. He's like a super big designer, and he's done pieces for like Kylie Jenner, Travis Scott. I met up with this other designer. Her name's Cecilia. She's super dope. She does a lot of her own work and her own you know, pieces. And yeah, it was just dope working with everybody, like being around a whole bunch of different creatives, and we just got to just, you know, connect, and just everybody's creative thought just being in one room and just sharing that energy was super dope.
Nice.
Super dope, yeah.
And when do we get to see, when will that be complete? In like,
Probably like a week.
oh, really?
Actually, yeah.
That'll be quick. And where's it gonna air?
So I know Mello is definitely he's gonna air it on his website, so I'll have to get the links and everything for that. But I'm not even sure where it's gonna air, but if anything, I'll just send it to you directly so you can see it.
Thank you.
And then-
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I will find it on your social also, right?
Of course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so what else? What other projects do you have coming up?
Other projects? I don't know. We'll have to see where the wind takes us, honestly.
There's nothing
Yeah.
that you can divulge now?
Any big projects? I don't really have any super big projects coming up. I do have people that I'm working with though. Like I'm working with a few people from the city. You know, shout out to Mrs. Spears, shout out to KOK, Kismet of Kings. But as far as like big projects, like right now, I feel like I'm just getting started, so I don't really have any super large projects. But as far as like the little projects and the people that I've worked with already, you know, that's what we're doing.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah. You're only, what would you say, 23?
23, yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5?
5 years. I see myself on a nice piece of land with a big house, some land with a bunch of animals, some fruits, vegetables in the backyard.
Oh, so tropical then.
Yeah, something like that.
Good for you.
Yeah.
All right, so you said you're constantly evolving. So what do you think the next evolution for you is? Like right now you're doing these kind of documentaries. Do you see it evolving into more, or do you like where you're at? Do you want it to stay at a documentary level, or do you see yourself becoming a director, feature films, something like that?
Honestly, I know this is probably like off course from like what we've been talking about, but as far as like my evolution, I really want to do more public speaking, like speaking for you know, the young kids and even like older adults, right? Because we usually say to ourselves like, oh, you know, we get to a certain age and we're like, oh, we don't need to learn anymore, we don't need to. But I truly believe that everybody you know, whether you're old, young, you should continue to learn. You should never want to stop or feel like that you have to, oh, I'm at this point, so I can't learn anymore, I can't do this anymore. So that's one thing that I really want to tap into is more public speaking in front of people, in front of, you know, crowds and events. But of course, I'm gonna have to, you know, build that skill up a little bit, and then.
Well, so now we can go back to doing more podcasts and interviews like this would be helpful for you.
Yeah.
And he said earlier,
this is my first interview, man. Hey.
So I feel very blessed. So thank you very much for allowing me to be your first. I hope this was a painless experience.
No, it's fun, man. I'm enjoying myself. I know y'all enjoying yourself in the background, but yeah, I'm enjoying myself though.
All right. Well, I love that for you, and you'll build your platform, and you'll be able to do that and influence a lot of people.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what you have to say. All right. Well, thank you. This has been Aubrey, not Audrey. Dear Lord, I wanted to say Audrey. I'm glad I looked at it. All right. I only messed up his name once today. Anderson. So thank you so much.
Of course, of course.
So this is AJX Beast of the New Mecca. Not just of though, but that's how I know you.
TNM, man. Yeah.
TNM. All right, so thank you so much for coming.
Of course, it was an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was not ready for a hint. All right, so thanks everybody for joining in. It's a brand new week, so go own it and mind your favorite minx and join us next time. Have a good week, everybody.